Welcome to my series about all Chopin's music, Scherzos. Today, this beauty, Scherzo number 2, opus 31, in B-flat minor. Chopin composed it between 1835 and 1837. His second Scherzo means a joke, of course, where I talk about scherzos a lot in my other video, the video about Scherzo number 1. So if you didn't watch it yet, if you haven't watched it yet, please do so, at least the beginning, so that you can get the impression of at least my, well, not only my, but the general interpretation and what Scherzo is. So this I explained in my first video. Now I'm not doing this because this video will be too long. But of course, also this Scherzo, just like number 1, will not be a joke at all. And again, there is a question why Chopin decided to write another Scherzo and decided to call it a Scherzo. Definitely it comes from Beethoven, and here we can really feel and we can experience how much Chopin was inspired by Beethoven by means of the way of constructing a piece, because this is the main thing I want to focus on in this video. I started from, not from the beginning, of course you know it. I started from the middle section, from the slow and beautiful melody, which comes in the middle of part B. Let's call it part B, the trio, as we can call it also. Why I started from this melody? First of all, it's my very favorite melody of this Scherzo, and maybe even of all Chopin's music. Definitely one of the most favorite. I think this melody is the perfect example of what is this famous word żal, which we always use when we want to explain Chopin's music. Word żal, which is untranslatable to any other language, really. It's a kind of sorrow, a kind of longing to something, sadness. All this we have. Fantastic melody, which is so touching, that is incredible. I have to admit, this Scherzo is, I have it very long in my repertoire, practically all my adult life, I would say, and I played it in public more than 200 times, I think, and I have to say that every time I play it, this moment touches me deeply, very often even to tears, touches me as much as I have tears in my eyes. I always feel this żal and this sadness, which is, in my opinion, so sincere in this moment. Another reason why I started from this part is because this part is extremely important when it comes to the motivical context and motivical work which Chopin is doing in this masterpiece. Scherzo number 2 is considered as one of Chopin's greatest masterpieces for written for piano. It's of course extremely famous, maybe even overplayed sometimes, but this doesn't mean that it's not worth to analyze, because of course I can think about what to say about this piece when everybody knows every single note probably you too. You can sing it. You know what will come next. It's not unexpected for you. Everything is so famous, so famous. I know what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the genius of construction of this piece that maybe some music lovers will not catch when they listen to it. Do they have to catch it? Well, maybe not. Maybe it's not necessary. Of course, I think it's not necessary to catch this when you listen. You can get touched by this piece, you can love it without understanding it, of course. But the idea of my movies here, of my videos, is to analyze and to make it simple for everybody. So that's why I do believe that you also, even if you're not a musician, you can understand this piece better and its construction. Because this piece is constructed in a genius, absolutely genius way. I always like to compare it to a building, to architecture. You know, art, you can compare many different kinds of arts. And art, like architecture and music, we can compare it because the piece of music must be constructed. The composer must think about certain moments and passages and the energy of the music as if he's building the building. And here Chopin is definitely thinking that way, maybe subconsciously, but still. And I tell you, now let's do like this. First, I tell you very fast the general construction of the piece, explaining why I like to compare it to the building, and then we start a deeper analysis. So focus now, fasten your seatbelts, and let's go. The whole piece starts from part A. Part A, which is quite long and have two different themes. Part A ends with a very big climax. And then when this comes to this climax, it seems like it's the end of the piece, but it's not. After that, Chopin is repeating part 8 again. And we have two part A, and that's why I think for me it's like two columns. You know, from the Greek architecture, we can say. Columns, already we have two of them. After the second time, Chopin writes part B. Part B, which is also quite long and also ends with a big climax. This is like the third column. We are missing one more. And this one more is, of course, part B again. So this is the fourth column. Perfect building. 2A, 2B. And then on these columns above them, we have the construction of the middle part, where the biggest drama of the scherzo happens. And after this biggest drama, we will have to come back to part A, because that's how scherzos are constructed. We need to have A, B, and A again. So after this middle part, we come back to A, which is, by the way, one of the most genius moments of this piece, but just you wait. And then there comes the question, is Chopin repeating part A again like he did at the beginning? He should have done it, but he hadn't done it. He didn't, because he knew, and here comes another genius of Chopin, that if he decided to do like books say, you must repeat everything you put before, then the piece would be too long, and then the whole construction would just collapse. And that's the very important thing to realize when you listen to the piece. Instead of repeating A, Chopin is just ending the piece with a short but very powerful and furious and dramatic coda. This is really fantastic, and this makes this piece a genius piece, and it is absolutely judged like this by all the musicologists. All of them, they hailed this piece as a masterpiece. As we can read in the National Chopin Institute, we read something like that. Critics and monographers fell over themselves to express their delight on this piece. Schumann heard Byronic touches. Niecks found the trio evocative of the Mona Lisa's thoughtfulness. Mona Lisa's thoughtfulness, my friends. Full of longing and wandering. Well, yes. Ferdinand Hessig heard demonic accents in this fiery poem. Another musicologist, Zdzisław Jachimecki, Polish, admired the long ribbon of melody sung on a single breath. We'll talk about it also. And so on, and so on. I can continue, but it gets maybe boring. Well, anyway, it's not boring because it's so beautiful. Let's start then. Let's start from the beginning. And now, of course, all of you know this. But let's play the first theme. And I want, before I start, I want you to focus on one thing. On something that maybe you never focused before while listening to this music. On the silence. I know it sounds strange, but even when I talk now all the time, and I talk too much, and maybe you have enough of it, you wait finally when he starts to play finally music. I know, but when I talk all the time, and now suddenly I stop, the silence also can be a music. It can also have something to say. And here Chopin, in a very unusual way, is constructing the piece from the silence. So just listen and let's count the silence. Okay. Silence. 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 And this is the end of the first theme. So first thing, the silence. It's really unusual. It makes this even more dramatic. And where is the scherzo here? There is no scherzo here, no joke. Another very important thing in this piece is the contrast. Generally speaking, this piece is constructed from the motifs. Is built from the motifs which doesn't fit together. They are opposites. They are so contrasting that it's almost impossible to write one piece out of all these motifs. But let's start from the beginning. The first is one of the most demanding motifs that Chopin wrote, and we can read that in the book Chopin in the Eyes of His Students, when one of his students, Wilhelm Lenz, is writing as follows, and I quote, but I will translate from Polish because this book is in Polish. Okay. Already at the beginning, we met a huge difficulty because it was impossible to play this beginning to please Chopin. These two trios were impossible to play. They seem to be so naive and so easy to play. But Chopin was never satisfied. It should be a question, Chopin was saying. And he was never satisfied. It was never enough a question. It was never enough piano. It was never enough tenuto, never enough clear. It should be like a charnel house, Chopin was saying. Charnel house means, that there's this building when we keep dead bodies. When somebody dies, we keep it there before the funeral. Terrible. And where is the scherzo here? It's terrible. Charnel house, so very, very cold, very scary. Chopin was saying that this is the key to the whole piece. That's very important. And sometimes even the whole lesson, Chopin could only stay with the student working on this. Indeed, it's not technically easy. I mean, it's not that difficult, but it's not, when you're a beginner, let's say, it's not so easy. But also, after reading all this, to express what Chopin wanted seems almost impossible. It must be a question. It's also like a drums, right? Tak-tam, tak-takam. But if we analyze this motif, because we have to do it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 notes. Padabadam, padabadam. Very important motif. Yeah, so it must be piano pianissimo and like a question and in a charnel house. After that, we have something that should never be here. Something that is so shocking. When we hear the piece for the first time, immediately we are completely shocked. As if somebody hit us. Because this is like a shot of a cannon. Like we are suddenly on a war. And the scream, pam, 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 pam. Well, it is not like a scherzo. It reminds us of a polonaise. Maybe. A little bit, but more dramatic. This moment. Pam, 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 pam. Pam, 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 pam. And immediately after that, again this motif. And these two motifs, they are, there is a sequence, right? Motif A, motif A, motif B, motif A, motif B. And motif A, this first one, is never, I mean, it's always the same. It never changes. The second motif is changing and is creating a phrase. Let's play this now and let's make a phrase out of it. And answer. And this is the first sentence. Then it's another. An answer. The last answer is the most powerful. So this is the idea of the first theme, constructed from the silence and from the contrast. Let's listen to it again. Comes the bridge which will connect part A with part B. Let's listen to this bridge. And this is part B, the second theme. I made a mistake, sorry. It will not connect part A with part B. It will connect the first theme with the second theme of part A. Excuse me. So this bridge, which connects first theme with the second theme, is also very important. Let's analyze it very fastly. We have the scale the passage going down, like the avalanche, right? Forte fortissimo. So and then again another contrast, piano pianissimo, and this finally we have a little scherzo. But of course we can't play it very funny because it sounds awful when it's played very funny in the middle of this drama. So we have to keep dramatic, but very piano. And again. Okay, and now we come to the second theme. And again another contrast. It seems like we are suddenly in a different piece, maybe some nocturno. One of the most beautiful melodies that Chopin ever wrote. And we can read something very beautiful in the book written by Ferdinand Hessig about Chopin. He writes as follows. Actually, he quotes the Kleczyński, who was a biographer and a musicologist as well. He wrote, he writes, what can be more marvelous and more fantastic than the second theme, the cantilene, so the beautiful melody, as a kind of spirit, as a spirit of very great thought, rising slowly. That's how this melody is slowly going step by step up to heaven, just to die in heaven. To die in heaven. This melody is going up, is climbing, is reaching the sky, to die there. Well, is it dying really? I don't know. I don't think so. Because in my opinion, it's celebrating reaching the top, but everybody can have his or her own opinion. Anyway, what is the fact is that this also is very demanding, and we know also from Lenz that Chopin was also very demanding into this moment. First of all, let's listen to this to the accompaniment of the left hand, and I play it for you without the pedal, so that you can really hear how it is written. Is it a scherzo? It's an etude for the left hand. It looks like etude for the left hand, isn't it? I think it does. Anyway, of course I played it without pedal. When I put the pedal on, so the soul of the piano, we will not hear every single separated note, but we will hear like a river of a sound. And then magic. And then this is how we practice it. We pianists, we must practice left hand alone. We must make it very beautiful, and a beautiful accompaniment that when you listen to us playing, you don't even notice this. This shouldn't be noticed, but it must be beautiful. It is like a pianist or orchestra who is accompanying the great singer. And here we comes to another very important theme that Chopin wanted the piano to sing. And he was telling it constantly. He was telling it all the time, wherever he wanted, wherever he were. And he was obsessed about it. It was drastically different from what Beethoven, for example, was considered the piano, or Mozart. Mozart, when he wanted to sing, he wrote operas, of course. Beethoven, of course, Beethoven in his slow movements of sonatas, in a way is treating the piano in a more spiritual way. But mostly he hardly ever said that the piano should sing. He was not really that kind of composer, as we know. The closest to Chopin was probably Franz Schubert. But that's because he was a singer himself. He had a great voice, and he, as far as we know, he was a fantastic singer of his own songs. But Chopin was maybe the first composer who really was obsessed and who started to treat the piano as if it's a singer. Of course, it's impossible. I must tell you, I worked with many singers as a pianist, as an accompanist. And all the singers I worked with were my great teachers, because I learned a lot from them. How to sing on the piano, and how to phrase, how to breathe. All this is very important. And here we have a great challenge, because this melody, the second theme of the part A, must not be played as it is written. So just exactly like all the opera arias, they are never sung as they are written. Why? And now I give you the proof. Now I will play for you a little of the second theme, just like it is written. So just like maybe pianists who had this kind of way of playing, well, long time ago during Chopin's life, who had this attitude to piano, to music, like from the classical era. They would, if it was Beethoven, they would play it like this. Well, it doesn't sound like Chopin at all. It's very bad. And now why? First of all, because we just have a stable rhythm, like in Beethoven's music. It is not good in Chopin's arias, especially Chopin's melodies, Chopin's music in general. And to prove it, I want to quote a little bit of a fantastic French composer, Hector Berlioz, who wrote about Chopin in his diary. Actually, he wrote, sorry, not in diary, he wrote it in a newspaper, Le Rénovateur. That was the newspaper. It is the number 345, if somebody wants to find it, dated 15th of December 1833. And Berlioz writes, among all the other things, he writes something like this: Chopin has a great talent, but his talent is completely different by nature than Liszt. And later he writes something like this: we found so much beauty and so many, seducing moments in his music that it's almost impossible to describe the effect of it. That's how bizarre, that's how unusual and original it is. And then comes the most important sentence which I want to write for you. Unfortunately, only Chopin can play his music and give her this originality, this how to translate this? When something is unexpected, the music is unexpected. Berlioz writes, because this is her. This is its main virtue, the music. And now comes the most important sentence. His way of playing is made out of thousands of slight changes of the tempo, which secret only he knows, and it's impossible to describe. End of quotation. Well, 1,000 slight changes of the tempo. Of course, because Chopin was always saying that the music should be, this kind of songs should be sung like the most beautiful Italian singers. That's what Chopin was saying. He was inspired by Italian singers. And now, well, of course, we pianists, we are working on it endlessly. And we try to sing it as much as possible. Now I play for you this, and also let's listen to how these two things, to how this melody is climbing up, and to how vocal it is. I mean, when we have the phrases exactly for the singer to breathe. This was not necessary in piano, but Chopin wanted, because piano, we don't have to sing, we don't have to breathe when we play the piano. But yes, we do have to breathe, especially when we are singing this beautiful melody. Let's listen to it now. And second phrase. And breathe, and next. Up. And even higher. And again, breathe, and next. of part A. Sometimes on the concerts, some people start to clap here. Well, it's not really a good moment, but it happens. After that, the whole part A is repeated again from the beginning, and without any changes, we can say. And then we have part B, and part B as a contrast also. A huge contrast. Another contrast is completely different from part A. Part A was full of movement. It was rather fast. Even the second theme is quite fast. Something is going on all the time. In the part B, suddenly the time stops, and we have a kind of prayer, chorale. Definitely we hear the choir singing. Like a choir singing, and on the bottom of this choir we hear an extremely important motif. Listen. Now, and I want you to remember this motif. It's extremely important. How to describe it? Two notes which go up, sorry, and then three notes which go down, and then the last note is repeated. It's also very important. So four notes, ta 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 ta. And this is also very important because if we play it faster, this is the same rhythm as at the beginning. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. Of course, and Chopin is going to use it, and is going to use it in the most genius way, more genius than you can imagine. So let's listen to this first part. And now a slightly different motif. A little dancing, a little like mazurka maybe, there is a kind of spirit of Poland. And now, this is a fantastic moment. It's like we are flying to heaven, or there is some kind of light going to heaven. Listen. Chopin will also be using it in his next scherzo in C sharp minor, when we will have many times, and it will also be connected with the chorale. But this is, of course, there it's going down. Here we are going up. But this is quite similar. And then it is repeated. Some kind of a moment of can you hear how much time we have? 26 years old artist. Chopin was 26 when he composed this piece, and he had so much time. It seems like composed by much older men. So much time. Now we come to this moment from which I started this video. Some musicologists call it a waltz. It is a kind of waltz because it's on three, so we can call it a sad, very sad waltz. This for me is the most beautiful melody, the most beautiful example of żal, of sadness, and so deeply sincere that it really touches us deeply. And also it's extremely important because this will become an obsession of Chopin in the middle part. in the biggest drama. This waltz, this sad melody, will change and will show us many different ways, many different images, but it will become very dramatic and very powerful, but this will still be the same melody. Let's analyze it. We can find here 4 layers, 4 instruments, 4 voices, and let's analyze all. Let's listen to all of them so that you can differentiate them. You can find them in this melody. First voice is very easy because it's the melody we hear. So it's the scale going down. Very sad. This is the first voice. The second voice has the same motif all the time and is coming just in the middle of this phrase that we just heard. So it sounds like this. And now listen to this and let's analyze it. 2 notes up and then 3 notes down. And then the same note at the end. Do you remember? Of course. The beginning. And this moment. That's why this motif at the beginning of B is so important. Because here it appears again, but twice as fast as at the beginning. And it is together with this melody. And now, so we have 2 voices, right? And try to remember this. I mean, it's impossible to forget. Okay, and to add something in the left hand, Chopin adds the bass, which is the basis, the basis, yes. It also has some kind of melody. And in the middle we have a very enriching little motif with the it's like syncopated, which means that the second note is coming too early because it's coming on 3 instead of 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Of course, when you listen to this, you can't catch it, all of it. But if you really want, and you can try, when you focus, you can try to listen to it. Now I play for you the whole again, and probably you will now listen to it from a different. You will have a different attitude. So let's listen to it. Is changing, and Chopin is immediately bringing us to another world. Let me play it again because I enjoy it so much, and now I will try to play it even deeper. Crying. Okay, and now we have another waltz, which is more similar to waltz that Chopin wrote. If you watched my other videos about waltzes, you know what I'm talking about. This one or this one? These are all Chopin waltzes brillant, waltz brillant. And here we also have a kind of a little similar moment. But when I play it, I don't really think about it as a waltz. I have a very nice image, very beautiful and magic image, that I have this big box inside which there are hundreds of butterflies. Colorful, every butterfly is different color. And then I open this box, and what happens? They all fly away, and I see them flying all over, right and left and up and down, and they are flying, and here I feel this and this is the end of part B. Then Chopin repeats part B, but he starts forte, so loud. But except from this, everything is same, absolutely same, without any differences. So, and after repeating this part B, we come to this moment that probably you're waiting for, the middle part, where the greatest climax and drama happens. And it's fantastically connected to part B, because part B ended this way. The middle part starts this way. It's same. So that's why when you listen to it, and you're not a musician and you don't know it, you probably miss this moment, because it's almost same. And after that, a great drama starts. There is a fight between two motifs. These motifs that we had, and left hand, 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Beethoven. It's also taken from the beginning. So there is a left hand which is very, very tragic. All this is a tragic moment. Listen to it. And now we come to something else. And what is it? Now I play it for you in the whole. Listen. Can you tell me what it was? Something new, or was it something that we had before? Let me play this for you in a slower tempo. Yes, my friends, it is exactly the same. The set walls that we had at the beginning of this video, and also in the middle part, in the middle of part B. Here it is twice as fast again, but we have exactly the same thing. And this, and this, and this. This is from part A. But now, is it the first theme? No, it's not. Because first theme was... Is it the second theme then? No, it's also not, because the second theme... So Chopin can say, no, yeah, I didn't put part A here. You must be mistaken. Of course, I'm joking now. Of course, this is, but listen to this and look at this. It's not first team, it's not second team. It's the bridge which was between them. Do you remember? Yes, so the very not unimportant bridge suddenly becomes very important. It reappears again in the middle part. Chopin on purpose doesn't want to show us first team on second team here. We don't know why, but he doesn't. But he wants to come back to A, so in a kind of a little moment. So he brings here in the middle of this sad waltz, because the sad waltz will come back, will reappear in even more dramatic way soon. He shows us the bridge. Let's listen to this bridge again. And now, more drama and more drama. And after this moment, when we have this avalanche, like an avalanche of dissonances, because we have to go with dissonances, right? Chromatic scale. Comes the biggest drama of the whole piece, and it is constructed and built from exactly this sad waltz. This. But what a change! Listen. Chopin wants to come back to A. How to do it? If you are a composer, you know that this is a challenge. How to connect part A with this drama. Definitely we have to go down, but we need something else. We must find the way, and Chopin found the way in a brilliant way. Because, my friends, this motif, when it consists of these three notes, 1, 2, 3, and the 4 note, it's really 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, pa-pa-pa-pam, pa-pa-pa-pam, played fast. This is exactly, pa-ta-pa-tam, pa-ta-pa-tam. But this goes from down up, and this comes from up to down. So, isn't it genius? Yes, it is genius. This way, Chopin is connecting part A the way that we don't really know how the hell we are back in A from this hell back into the charnel house, the house of death. So let's listen to this. Back to the beginning. Yes, part A without any changes. And the beautiful melody, which I can play for you again, about love. Melody is changing. It will start to scream because something bad will happen. Listen. This is different because before we had it was enthusiastic, and now we have oh, something happened, and now screaming up, moaning up, and then coda. And coda is constructed from motifs taken from part A, from the bridge, and from the first theme. First, the bridge. Then the first theme, but a little different. First theme again, and this second part of first theme. And now accumulating energy. More, and again bridge. One of the best endings, or maybe even the best ending of all Chopin's music, and in my opinion. So maybe another Scherzo number 4 also has a great ending, but this is even better. And now, when it comes to the construction, when it comes to the creating the tension, this piece is a true masterpiece, one of the best ever written. So, yes, I think that's all. What we can, well, we can say much more, but let's not make this video too long. If you want to listen to me playing this in the hall, there is a fantastic recording. Fantastic when it comes to the technical aspect, because there are many cameras and sometimes they are moving, so it's always nice to listen to. From Beijing Concert Hall. I try to put it here at the end of this video so that you can just click on it and you can watch it. Hopefully it will be possible. If not, you can find it on YouTube, writing my name and the Scherzo, and maybe Beijing if you want, and then you can find it. I love this piece with all my heart. And let's finish with this statement. Thank you very much, and I invite you to my other videos. Both videos that I've already made and those which I'm going to make. There will be all Chopin's pieces for the piano, at least those which he published himself during his life, which I'm going to analyze. So enjoy. Thank you very much and see you again. Bye.